Hello, my name is Thomas Prochaska and I will show you how to model REST APIs. So, let's take a domain, for example, sports teams. So first of all, we obviously need a model of this domain. So let's start with entity team. It's going to have some sort of a name. We don't need to fill the regex at the moment. So let's say established 1000 and maximum 2015. An endpoint, we obviously want to get all the teams, and we might also want to get a particular team based on an ID. So let's add this to the canvas. So we empty the team, and let's create an entity player. Let's say that it has a property name, and we also want, for example, an age. So let's say minimum is 18, maximum 120, and let's say that we want endpoints for getting all players and getting one particular player. Okay, now we obviously want association between these two, because since we have a team and since we have a player, and team employs obviously some players or has players. So let's create a new property, a property players, which will be type of an array integer, and we want the value to be player. So as you can see, an association has been made. I can rename this to employees, and let's add some endpoints so we can actually work with the connection. So let's get the teams ID players, for example. Let's also get team ID players so we can post new players. Let's also add some endpoints here. So we, for example, want to post new players, and we might also edit already existing player. Okay, so here we have our model. It's a very simple model. Let's generate the REST API. So here you can see the actual model, which goes to the generator as a part of an HTTP request. So I will choose folder to zip. This means that I will use the template attached to the generator in a folder, and I'm gonna get it as a zip file. So let's generate that. Yep, as you can see, I should have it in downloads. It was this one. So I copied on my desktop. I can delete this one. This one is from the previous take. So let's open this one, and let's see what we actually got. So there are two folders, blueprint, which contains the API blueprint. This one is used for testing. And then we have the actual API. As you can see, it's a pretty standard structure. It has the models here, the player and the team. They both have the abstract class model or prototype, since it's JavaScript. And here are the roads. I can open the code. You can see it's pretty standardized code. And it also has comments which kind of lead the user. Returns list of players, returns one player, adds player to the database. So it's pretty standardized code. Now let's run this REST API. So let's pop up the terminal. Let's go to desktop. Let's go to generated API, and here we are. So first of all, what we need to do is install dependencies. So just install dependencies for the REST API. This is very specific to Node. Let's say, and now we are able to run the REST API. So let's run node server.js. Okay, so our REST API is running on localhost on port 3001. Let's open in Postman and let's see what we get. So teams, let's try to call teams. Cannot post teams, obviously. We didn't create an endpoint post teams. So there was I actually forget to switch this one to get, so let's try to get some teams. And we get an empty array, of course, because we haven't added any teams. So let's use the editor, and here there's an endpoint called data generator. This endpoint gets a MongoDB link, which I get from here. This is really just for testing purpose, so I'm not really worried about the password, user, anything kind of stuff. So I will paste the MongoDB link here, and what the generator does, that it gets the model and it gets the link, and it connects to the database and creates random data based on the model and adds them into the database. So let's add some data, and let's now call the teams once again. And as you can see, we got some sort of a data. We got one object. It's a single object, which is name. This is just a generated string. We get some established number, which is in between the minimum and maximum we established in the model. And we also got 2 players in the team. So let's try to actually make a call to get players, and you can see that I also generated 1 player. Now we created the endpoint teams.id/players, so we should be actually able to call this one, grab the ID /players, and we get those 2 players for the particular team. Now let's try to add a new player. So let's just call get players. Let's change this one to post. And yeah, by the way, I can't really imagine anyone playing ice hockey in the age of 86, but that's a detail. And let's create a new player. So if I add a name and add age, let's say 23, and I hit send, you can see that the new player has been added. So if I call get, here's my new player. I can also filter. So if I say age 23, I get our player called Donald, and it also supports filtering based on name. When it's a name, then it uses regex, so I can actually call just Don, and I get our player called Donald. Yeah, that's it from the first part, and in the second part I will show you how to test the generated code and how to immediately see what has been generated.